Not sure if you heard, but there's a new Superman movie out entitled Superman, not to be confused with Superman, which is the movie that I saw as a 4 year old and made an indelible impact on literally who I am and how I conduct myself to this day. I've always loved the Superman character. I loved watching the TV show when I was a little kid, the George Reeves show when I was a kid. I loved watching the first two solidly, the third okay of the Christopher Reeve films. I enjoyed Superman Returns when it came out. Although now when I look at Superman Returns, I kind of realize it's pretty much just a remake of the first two Donner Superman movies. I did not care for the Zack Snyder Superman films. I thought they were way too dark, too mopey, too trying to put the Dark Knight skin on Superman. And I did not watch The Adventures of Lois and Clark. I thought it looked cheesy. I have not watched the current, most recent Superman TV series. Did not watch Superboy. Thought it looked cheesy. Loved Superman on the Super Friends cartoon. Would occasionally buy Superman comics. Would occasionally get Superman peanut butter. Like, I always loved Superman. Yes, as a kid, and maybe beyond being a kid, was known to maybe tie a towel around my neck and, temporary cape. So I really, really liked Superman. And when I saw a new Superman film was coming from James Gunn, who has done many, many things, but including the Guardians of the Galaxy films, I was dubious because I really had written off the character ever really kind of speaking to me again. Because what I didn't get through the Zack Snyder Superman movies was a Superman who smiled, was a Superman who was just an overall upbeat, nice, happy guy. I didn't need the brooding Superman. I know comics have had every shade of Superman's character over the years. You're talking about decades and decades and decades, staring down the barrel at 100 years of Superman, not too long from now. And there's been a lot of Superman, and a lot of people who are just casual consumers of pop culture and not comic fans will just lock onto whatever Superman they first saw and say, that's how this character should be. And I'm aware that there are others. I personally okay, we're never going to get another movie like Superman 78. Talking to people like me out there, you're never going to get that again. It was of its time and of that era and of those people and what they consumed. It's never going to be like that again. So you can either say, I'm just going to watch these four movies, really two, and that'll be that, and I'm never going to look at Superman again. Or you can be like me and say, I'm going to give these new Superman movies a shot, and if I don't like them, maybe I'll wait till the next time they decide to redo the character. So James Gunn has done that with Superman 2025. I really like this. I was really dubious going in. I only let myself watch part of the initial teaser trailer, and I'm like, Crypto, the super dog, is in this, and it was a little jokey, and I'm like, don't make fun of this character, please. Don't make this movie that you're making fun of the character because he's a nice guy. In this society, this world, this culture, we can't allow anybody to just be a decent person. We have to make fun of them, or we have to make them flawed, or they have to secretly be terrible. I was really nervous about that going in. This movie doesn't do that. Superman is a nice guy in this. He is a decent guy who is trying to do what he believes his parents told him to do in the little snippet of a recording that was rescued from when he crashed into this planet as a baby, which you don't see in this movie, by the way. Mega points to James Gunn and the team for realizing people know who Superman is. You don't need to spend an entire movie saying, see, this guy came down from the sky and these people in Kansas and he grew up. We've seen that. We know that. That's one of the things I liked about Superman Returns, is that they gave you visually his origin story under the opening credits of the movie, and then they just took it as read that we know who Superman is. He's been doing this for a while. This film, I'm not going to tell you a lot of the details of the plot, but this film opens that way. They basically tell you as something is happening, he's been here this long, this is the situation, and you just take it. You're taking Superman's story already in progress, and that's fine. Thank you. We have origin stories. You can look it up on your phone while you're waiting for the movie to start to figure out everything that you might not know about this character. This one of arguably the most iconic characters in modern history. So the film doesn't bother with an origin story. We take it in progress that Superman is a guy. People know who he is. He's been saving people around the world and doing good deeds. He and Lois are a thing. People know that there's a Superman and there's a Clark Kent. Lex Luthor is a guy. He's a bad guy. He's a rich bad guy. and he's been after Superman for a while. It is just so incredibly refreshing to get a superhero movie with a new actor in it where we're just hitting the ground running. Like, the story's already in progress. So, David Corenswet, who's somebody I had not heard of before. Apparently he was in Pearl as the projectionist, I just realized the other day. Mostly unknown to the vast, vast public, which is good. Because when you cast somebody who's already done a bunch of things, the original Superman in '78, they would throw around all these names like Burt Reynolds or Paul Newman. And it's just like, you do that and that mega actor just brings all that baggage or all that history to the role. And you can't really just see them as that character. David Corenswet is Superman as far as I'm concerned. And I hope he and everybody else in this movie is really cool with being those characters for like 5 more movies. Because that's another thing that's always unfortunate. It happens in the James Bond movies where somebody makes a movie or 2 and they're like, well, I don't want to be pigeonholed as this character. And it's like, no, hey, guess what? You signed up to potentially be only known for this for the rest of your life. So please be comfortable with that, because everybody in this is really good. The basic story, 6 minutes in, he gets around to tell me what the story is. I'm not going to tell you the whole story. Basic story is Superman's a good guy. He's doing his thing. Lex Luthor is trying to smear Superman. He wants Superman out of his way. Superman is getting in the way of his business dealings and his, world domination dealings and his nefarious chicanery. And he's trying to do things in the media to sour people on Superman. And he is trying to physically capture and either imprison or get rid of Superman so that there's nobody standing in his way to just do what he can do to get as much as he can get for everything. Nicholas Hoult, by the way, is Lex Luthor. One of the problems I have with a lot of modern films is I call it the younger, hotter. Everybody, it's a remake, but everybody's younger and hotter than they were before. This movie kind of has that. I don't know that I guess we've had a young Lex Luthor before, but it's whatever. That's not really a big deal in this movie. Lois Lane, this time, is portrayed by Rachel Brosnahan, and she's great. She's great. Lois Lane is ace female reporter, independent woman, paired up with Clark Kent / Superman, and she's just cool. She's just cool. She's not, one of the things I was worried about, especially in more modern films, I say something like this and it always makes me sound like the kind of person I don't like, but that's not the intention here. A lot of films, a lot of hack screenwriters who want to do strong female characters take a shortcut and achieve that by making all the men around them stupid. This movie doesn't do that. She's just on an even keel with everybody else. And by her own merits, she's just cool. She's not, like, Superman isn't an idiot. Clark Kent isn't an idiot. Jimmy Olsen, not really an idiot. She's just good, and she's just cool, and she's coolness. For me, she doesn't have like movie star magnetism, but I really liked her in this, and I hope she's in several more of these, and maybe I'll feel that way later. Jimmy Olsen in this film is portrayed by Skylar Gisondo, who you won't know his name probably, but you will absolutely know his face. His portrayal is different than I've ever seen it before, and it's very amusing and very funny, and I really enjoy it. The whole film is very funny. It's James Gunn. He always weaves a lot of humor in it. It's very funny. It's very knowing. It's not necessarily self-parody, but some of the characters it does have fun with. You do get to see the Justice Gang, which is Hot Girl and Green Lantern, the Guy Gardner, I believe, Green Lantern, and Mr. Terrific. They are fantastic. I do believe the plan is obviously to spin them off into another movie, but they are fantastic. In this film, all of those actors just nail it and are very cool and very funny and get a lot of laughs. There is a good amount of language in this film. It's not bad language, but it's like, it's soft profanity. A lot of the brown word in this film, let's say, which is kind of surprising for a Superman film, but it works really well. So I'm watching the movie and they're bringing all these other superheroes in, and I'm just like, oh God, this is going to be like every superhero movie where you have to have 6 villains and 10 heroes, and so you can hopefully see what works and maybe spin them off and maybe have more merchandise and have a wider range of toys. This never feels like that. This film, it never feels too long, didn't to me, never felt boring. It was always interesting, and all the this is a 2-hour and 10-minute movie. It was always interesting. The characters all fit into the overall story. I didn't feel like I wasn't getting enough Superman. I didn't feel like I was getting too much of the other characters. Some characters are a little different than we've seen them before, but they're just all good in this. And James Gunn does weave in little things. for me not being a mega reader of these comics, weaves in a lot of little things that are amusing in there. Lloyd Kaufman from Troma is woven in there because James Gunn puts him in all his movies. Very, very, you have to know where to look to see him, but he's there. You get some of the actors from Guardians of the Galaxy do voices of Superman's like helper robots. You've got Pom Klementieff and Michael Rooker. Bradley Cooper has a cameo as Jor-El. It's very, very good. Alan Tudyk is a voice in there. And you get to see the Fortress of Solitude, you get to see the Daily Planet, you get to see a lot of things that we've seen before in Superman films, but in a slightly different way, which is kind of cool. All rendered very interestingly, none of which made me think, oh, this is stupid. I'm not going to tell you all the characters that you see because there are some surprises. I was able to go to see this. I found out at the very last minute. It was an Amazon Prime member Tuesday night screening. So I think it was like the first public screening of the film that they did nationally at AMC theaters and some other theaters. Side note, as a Prime member, would have been nice to get an email letting me know that was going to happen, because I had no idea until like the day before when a friend told me, and I got the last seat in the IMAX theater. But I saw this in a theater full of Supermaniacs, as it were. I've not seen that many Superman t-shirts in one place ever. And it was really, really exciting. Right before the movie started and the credits, the lights went down, some guy yells out, "Don't mess this up now," which I thought was funny. They didn't mess it up. This film has all of the heart that you want in a Superman film. If you love the Christopher Reeve era of Superman, it retains elements of the music score, but not really reuses the score. There are little lilts of that theme that come in, which if you don't know, that score is just the score to this film. But if you do, is a nice little reminder, a nice little nod. I was afraid this movie was going to do what Superman Returns did, which was either rip off or homage too heavily the original films, where it's just taking me out of this and making me think about a better movie. This doesn't do that. It has little nods and little things. The Otis character is in this, but it's a very different presentation of the Otis character. So a lot of the same characters. The end threat that Superman has to stop at the end of the film, you could say that's similar to what happened at the end of the original Superman film. And the end credits do pay homage to the whoosh titles just a little bit. Yes, there are things in the end credits. There is a mid-credits, I wouldn't even call it a scene, I'd call it a moment. And there is a very end of the credits moment that it's an extension of what we saw before. There is a character I wanted to point out, Mr. Terrific. This is a character that I did not know before that is from the comics, and he was pretty terrific in this movie. Just, it was like if you made Shaft into a superhero in the 70s. That's kind of how he played. He was just cool and badass and very funny. Everything in this movie worked for me, even Crypto the Super Dog, which I thought was just going to be stupid. It was amusing and fun. They put him right up front in the film. They establish what the deal is with Crypto, and I had no problem with that. And again, David Corenswet as Superman, a decent, nice guy, played it well, played the emotions well, played the Clark Kent well, very human, not like phony. He felt like a guy. I know, and I love Christopher Reeve. And somebody said this years ago, and it never occurred to me. Superman is Superman. Clark Kent is Superman pretending to be Clark Kent, pretending to be this nerdy guy. And I don't know why that was never obvious to me, but you see that in the Christopher Reeve performance, and in the David Corenswet performance, it really does feel like he's just, it's like Clark Kent isn't Superman pretending to be Clark Kent. It's like Clark Kent is Superman when he's just allowed to relax. So that was really nice. I could go on and on about this. The effects are really good. It is, as again I say, very funny, very interesting, very, when there are moments of terror, there are moments of darkness, and there are moments that, this film it takes a long time to make a film. This film was shot a while ago before this moment in time is what it is, but boy, does this film resonate. And while I'm watching it, I'm thinking, we need Superman now, maybe more than any time in Superman's history, except the 40s. And this film spoke to the kid in me. This film spoke to the person who cares about other people in me. And this film exists as a beacon of hope for people who want a better world, and for people who want the good guys to win over the bad guys, and for people who would like to see more caring generosity in the world and less greed and selfishness. And this film embodies that. And I hope that little kids go to see this movie like I went to see a movie back in 78, and that it instills in them what that movie did in me. So you should really see Superman.